Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome. From time to time, what I'll do is I'll reach out to different leaders on the team, and I'll say, "Do you have any requests for training, for Sunday night training?" And I reached out to one of the leaders tonight, and they said, "Can you talk about what it looked like in the beginning for Eden and I when we first started, and what it really takes?" And before I dive into that, because I will talk about that, what I want to know from you all is type in the chat box, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I mean actively taking a look at or wanting to participate in the opportunity of Isagenix. I know that if you were simply here to consume the products, you wouldn't be on here, at least most likely you wouldn't be. And if you are on here for that reason, fantastic, welcome, that's amazing. But I would love to know why you're pursuing the opportunity of Isagenix or the venture of Isagenix. If you could just type in the chat box. And there are 58 people on here plus some twosomes together. So there should be upwards of 60 to 75 answers in the chat box. I would just love to know what it is. Okay. Why are you guys here? You could be anywhere right now, but instead you're in front of your computer and you're here. Okay. No, and I don't mean like, why are you on this specific, you know what I mean? Not like tonight. I just mean in general. Like why are you doing this? What are you pursuing? Okay. When I was growing up, I was convinced that I was going to be a professional athlete. There was one problem, though. And the problem was, according to all my coaches, was that I was too small. Multiple coaches told me that I would never play beyond high school. Multiple coaches said I would never play beyond high school. And fortunately, I had parents that said, just keep working. Just keep working. And between three sports, I ended up choosing soccer to really focus on. And in soccer, originally, I was a striker or a forward. For those of you that aren't familiar, those were the guys that are guys and gals responsible for scoring goals. My stepfather, who really got me to commit to soccer, one day kind of dropped the hammer on me. And he said, look, he said, I know you're really passionate about the game. He said, but the reality is, Zach, you're never going to make it as a striker. He said, you're never going to be fast enough and you're not going to be strong enough. So you're never going to make it. He said, but because of your baseball and tennis background, you have really good hand-eye coordination, you have really good reflexes. So I think you should be a goalkeeper. And I said, okay. And I committed to that. The problem was, as a goalkeeper, hang on one second. Dad? Hey, I love you. I'm doing a team call. I'll call you back right after, okay? I'm doing a team call. I'll call you right back, okay? I love you. Bye. Sorry, we might have a little bit of a coronavirus scare with my dad, and he lives in a assisted living facility, and so anyway, I meant to mute. Sorry. He's fine. Don't worry. He'll be okay. So I just didn't want to miss that call. It's interesting times. Okay. So anyway, they said, he said, I think you should be a goalkeeper. And I said, okay. The problem with being a goalkeeper was that I was like 5'6". And the other guys were like 5'9", 5'10". And as I pursued the Olympic development program, I felt like they got even taller. I mean, like I remember walking out to try out for the Olympic development program. And I mean, I remember the two reigning keepers were both like 6'2", so significantly taller than me. Very tall. So I knew I only had one choice only. And that was to find a way to beat them in ways that they could never beat me. And that was with things like quickness, reflexes, and learning and studying the game. Mastering the game, understanding angles and positions, right? Understanding the flight of the ball, essentially becoming a coach on the field. And And that's what I did. And that's how I worked my way in. And then as I got into later in my high school career, and I thought I was going to be able to play D1, I got hurt. And I thought that was it for me. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So once my mom, thank God, poured into me and said, hey, look, you're more than a ball and a bat. You know, you're an intelligent person. Just pick what you want to do, but go to school, get a job, right? And we'll just figure it out. And I said, okay, that's fair. The problem was that, as you guys have heard me say before, I knew I was psychologically unemployable. And the very first job I had out of college, I'll never forget, I was working for a professional soccer team, actually. And I'll never forget, and I don't know if any of you have ever had this experience before. I remember I'd been there for like 3 or 4 months. And I remember looking around the office and seeing these just blank stares on people's faces. Just blank, just totally zombied out. How many of you know that look? How many of you have had that look? And what I decided in that moment was that there has to be more. There has to be more to life than sitting in traffic for 2 to 3 hours a day, to go to a job where I feel like a zombie, to go home, wake up, and do it again. There's got to be a different way. And so I started really pursuing entrepreneurship. And this was at 24 years old. And everybody told me that I was crazy. And everybody told me that I should just maintain having a regular job. And everybody told me that I was never going to make it and I was never going to be successful. And everybody told me that it was too risky, too unsafe, too much uncertainty. And everybody told me, just like all my coaches told me, that I was never going to make it. Every single one of them. But I had one thing that I carried with me when Eden said, let's do isogenics. I had one thing that I had learned along the way. And that's something I want to pass forward to all of you tonight. I was willing to be unreasonable. I was willing to be completely unreasonable with my commitment. I was willing to be completely unreasonable with my vision. So when I met Eden, and this woman looks at me and says, hey, I didn't spend the last 10 years of my life looking for the man I want to be married to, just be separated doing things that we hate every day. In that moment, what I realized was that all of that disregard for wanting to have a normal life was coming to fruition in that moment, where finally I met somebody who said, hey, I want our life to look a certain way. And we shared that vision. Like all of you have put in the chat box, you have a vision for your life. But my question for you is, how unreasonable are you willing to get in order to make it happen? So the leader I reached out to, she said, what did it really look like when you guys first got started? And my question for you is, are you willing to do what we did? Because a lot of you said freedom. And freedom means different things to different people. And I don't know what freedom means to you. But to me, it meant being able to be in a position to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, with whoever I want. And I wasn't going to negotiate on that. It was a non-negotiable for me. In fact, one of the biggest reasons I called off my previous engagement was I verbatim said to my ex-fiance that I would rather die than live a life that her or anybody else thinks I should live. Unreasonable. Unreasonable. So when we first got started, here's what it looked like. No, we're not coming out for drinks this weekend. No, we're not going to the party. Sorry, we're going to have to miss that birthday. No, we're not able to go to the movies tonight. No, we're not going to take time off. No, 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 no. No. The reason we can say yes is because we exercise the power of our no. And so my question for all of you is, to what degree are you willing to exchange short-term inconveniences, short-term pushback from your families, short-term missing out on weekends? How willing are you to give it all up so you can have it all? That's the big question you got to ask yourself. Now, for those of you that are just interested in making an extra $500 a month or whatever it may be, that's badass, that's amazing. Please pursue that. And also understand that that also requires some level of disregard for normalcy, some level of being willing to say, I'm not going out this weekend. Some level of being willing to say, you know what, I'm going to go 90 days with no alcohol in my body. 90 days of not going out on the weekends. 90 days of not allowing toxic people to speak into my life. 90 days of not doing things out of guilt. 90 days of not allowing conditioning or contingent relationships to determine what I do with my life. Because that's what's required. That's what's required. Yes, you can do this part-time. Yes, you can do this part-time, and you should do this part-time, and you should take days off. And I'm not saying 24/7, 7 days a week. That's not our style. You know that. But to some degree, if you really want freedom, you got to be willing to let go of the things that have kept you trapped. And that's the part I want you to get. If you're hanging out with the same people, telling the same jokes, with the same stories, and you don't feel good by the time you're done being with them, that's got to be a wake-up call to you. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Type in the chat box. How many know what I'm talking about, right? How many of you guys have those people that you still give permission to come into your life? And you get together, hey, Brandy, remember that one time in high school when blah, 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 blah? Yeah, we told that joke last weekend. Hey, Hillary, remember that one time when we blow? Yeah, we literally just talked about it yesterday. Like, new material. And when you're willing to surround yourself with people that stretch you, what do you think is going to happen for you? You're going to stretch you. And you might be in an environment where you're the only one that's willing to stretch. And guess what? That's okay. Because again, you've got to be unreasonable. Unreasonable. So Eden and I said, okay, cool, we're going to be unreasonable. We're going to say no to everything. If it didn't mean moving our business forward, it didn't happen. Just very simple. We work 6 days a week, and sometimes 7. We work 6 days a week and sometimes 7. Now, we didn't work all day, but there were some days where we worked all day. And to this day, even though you guys see it, we have a lot of freedom. Let me ask you a question. For those of you that have been around me a lot, have you ever seen a single day where we don't do something to move the business forward? Something every single day. And why? Why? Because I don't want you to learn how to build a castle. I want you to build a kingdom. I want you to build something so strong and so deep that nothing can rock it. And let's just be honest about something right now. We're in a very uncertain time. It's very unpredictable. But what can you control? Type in the chat box. What can you control? Your effort, your attitude, how many people you're talking with every day, the decisions you make. So Eden said, I don't want to go back to my job ever again. And I said, great. 10 new asks every day between the two of us. 10 new, because that'd be 60 a week. 6 days a week we were working, 60 a week. New asks, not posting on Facebook hoping, not saying hi to people, 60 a week. Now it was 5 and 5, but if I was building by myself, guess how many it would have been? 10. Because let me ask you a question. If you can do 5, can you do 10? If you can do 3, can you do 5? Are you willing to get unreasonable? Are you willing to be non-negotiable? Are you willing to say to people, look, I really appreciate the invitation, but I'm focused. What are you focused on? I'm focused on creating a better tomorrow because I don't like what it looks like today. We are in the golden age of this industry in ways in which I cannot explain. We're in the golden age of this. Now's not the time, as hard as it is, because we've been so cooped up, and I get that. But we've talked a little bit about this. Now's not the time for complacency. Please trust me on this. Now's not the time to say, I want to get back to normal. Because the reality is, and I think we can all agree on this, normal's going to look a lot different for a lot of people. How many of you would agree with that? Normal's going to look a lot different for a lot of people. The question for you that you've got to ask yourself is, and this is something that I've stood by for a long time, and this is not a political statement, and we're not going to talk about politics. What's going to happen is going to happen, but let me ask you a question. Do you really want to spend your life waiting around to see who does what policy happens where, what happens in the economy here and that and the other? Or would you rather empower yourself to create your own economy, to build your own community, to implement your own policies, so that no matter what's happening in the world, you're solid? Because here's the deal. There's more change to come, and guess what? After we overcome all of this, as a global community, guess what's going to happen in 7, 8, 9 years? Guess what's going to happen? It's going to happen again. Not necessarily a global pandemic, God willing, but guess what's going to happen? Economic downturn, economic recession, mid-cycle slowdowns, job loss, AI, right? Technology. I'll answer that question in a second for you, Michelle. It's going to keep happening. So the question you got to ask yourself is, what kind of position do I want to be in? Not just when things are good, but when things are challenging. In order for you to have that tomorrow, you got to be unreasonable today. And so here's what I want to challenge you guys to do. So today was Sunday. My mom was here visiting me. What happens at 11 o'clock on Sundays? What happens at 11 o'clock on Sundays? New week begins, kind of. 11 o'clock in the morning. 11 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. Pivot on purpose. My mom was visiting me. I said, gotta go. Where you gotta go? Gotta do the webinar. You gotta do it today? Gotta do it every Sunday, Mom. Every Wednesday, Mom. But I'm visiting. Love you, Mom. You know the deal. And she was just giving me a little bit of a hard time, but she knows. She understands. She sees the life that we built for ourselves. So are you willing to move aside the things that are, quite frankly, getting in your way from creating the reality that you want? Because here's the other side of it. It's not that far away from you. As far away as you think it is, it's as close as the things you're willing to get rid of in your life in order to clear the path. That's the reality. You guys know me. I'm always cards face up. I'm always going to wear my heart on the sleeve. I'm always going to tell you the reality of what is required to create true freedom in your life. You got to break free from all the stuff that's bound you thus far. Type in the chat box, what are some of the things you know you get to let go of? Type in the chat box, what are some of the things you know you get to let go of to create real freedom? Netflix, awesome, that's an honest answer. Netflix again. We're going to put Netflix out of business. Scrolling on social media, all television. Scrolling, TV, your phone, negative people, people's opinions. Great. What else? Certain relationships. Scrolling on Facebook, negative self-talk. TikTok. Yeah, sorry. More money in network marketing than there is in amateur choreography. Just saying. What else? What else? Self-doubt. Love that. What else? Waiting. What are the things that you know it's time to let go of? Because here's the reality. The reality is that we're going to come out on the other side of this whole situation, and the economy is going to get stronger at some point, and you're going to see people on this team become millionaires, multiple six-figure earners. You're going to see it happen. And you're either going to be alongside of them, or you're going to wonder. And the only difference will have been what? Type in the chat box. What will the only difference been? What separates? Choices and effort. That's it. Every single day. That's it. That's it. Every single day. Every single day. Especially when you don't think you can do it. Especially when you're tired. Especially when people are telling you you're crazy. Especially when people tell you you work too much. You're too serious. Especially those times. Because some of you have heard me say this before, the only people who will ever try and talk you out of a life of greatness are people who've talked themselves into a life of mediocrity. I'll say that one more time. The only people who ever try and talk you out of a life of greatness are people who have talked themselves into a life of mediocrity. And so when Eden and I, both sets of friends, my side of the fence, there he goes again. Another one of those things. Can't wait to see this one crash and burn. Guaranteed failure. He's taking her for a ride. Here he goes again. Blah, 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 blah. Eden's side, I can't believe she's considering giving up a 6-figure career. What's she going to do? Who does she think she is? She didn't even graduate high school. And so guess what we heard when we heard that? When we heard those things, guess what we really heard when we heard those things? What do you think we heard? You think we heard fear? We heard work harder, dig deeper, talk with more people, put on more events, show up more, get louder, lead by example, show them what's possible. We didn't get angry. We weren't mad. We were excited. Every single time you get negative feedback, make no mistake, all that is confirmation that you're headed in the right direction. If you get negative feedback from somebody that doesn't have the results in their life that you're looking to create in your life, every time you get negative feedback, they are giving you positive affirmation that you're headed in the right direction. How many of you can appreciate that? How many of you guys get that? And yet, we hear me say, we hear the other leaders say, connect with 3 to 5 people a day, connect with 10 people a day, and then we sit down, and then what happens? We freeze. What will they think about me? What are they going to say? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to criticize me? Are they going to reject me? They might, and so what now what? See, I wish, and I put a post in the group the other day, and I deleted it because it didn't communicate what I really want to communicate. I wish all of you understood what's on the other side of 3 to 5 years of obsessive, non-negotiable, unreasonable, consistent, and persistent action. Having nothing to do with your background, having nothing to do with where you went to school, having nothing to do with if you went to school, having nothing to do with English as your first language or your second language, having nothing to do with your socioeconomic background, having nothing to do with your race or religion, having nothing to do with your political beliefs, having nothing to do with your gender identification, having nothing to do with any of these things other than am I willing for 3 to 5 years to get unreasonable, non-negotiable, with consistent and persistent action every single day of the week until. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to have real freedom, to have real non-negotiable freedom, to be able to have a caving economy and be okay, to know your family can be taken care of. That's what it takes. That's what's required. That's what's required. Who wants to sign up for that class? Because here's the alternative. You tell me what the alternative is. What's the alternative? Mediocrity? If you're fortunate. Same thing over and over again. Remain the same. Misery. I'm going to share something real personal with you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see my dad ever again. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I was up all night last night thinking about it. And what I think the most about is every day my dad sits in a wheelchair and stares out at a window every day. That's all he does. He's 76 years old. So on average, he's got to be at least 15 years younger than every other person there. And I love my dad. He's a phenomenal human being. And I learned a lot from my dad. But my mom and I were talking about it yesterday extensively. But the reason my dad sitting in his chair every day, staring out a window, isn't because he's unhealthy. He's not. It's because when my dad got inconvenienced, he chose apathy. He chose, I'll do it later. He chose things like, yeah, you're right, I probably should do that. And I honor my dad. And I hope in no way, shape, or form this comes across as disrespectful, because that's not the intention. And him and I talk openly about this. But I want you to forward look into your life 30, 40, 50 years from now. How do you want to look back on your life? How do you want to look back? And that's what this comes down to. That's reality. Whether it's this vehicle or some other vehicle, and if it's not this vehicle, by all means, that's totally cool. You don't have to do our thing. Do something. Please do something. Do something. Because it's crushing me to know that there's a good chance that that's how it's going to go for him. And that's a hard thing to admit to all of you. It's not easy. It's not easy for me to bring that to this call. Of course not. But we can't just learn from the people who inspire us. We can't just learn from the people that have it all. Because we have to embrace contrast. We have to understand. We have to be willing to look at the duality of life that says, this person is here and this person is here. What choices did the person that where I want to get to, what choices did she make? As opposed to what choices did he make? Now, everyone's journey is their own journey. And from a spiritual perspective, that journey is perfect. And that's fantastic. And for that reason, I'm in total acceptance of my dad's life. Total and complete acceptance. And I honor him for that. But it doesn't mean he hasn't served as an incredible teacher for me. What happens when we allow complacency to take over our lives? When we allow ourselves to be distracted by things that don't add value? When we allow ourselves to get deterred, when we allow ourselves to get into negative thinking, when we allow ourselves to think we can do it all on our own, when we allow ourselves to get trumped by ego, when we allow ourselves to think that this is a solo sport when in reality it's a team sport, contrast is everything in life, in my experience. Everything in life, in my experience. And what I'm so clear on, for all of you, in spite of what's going on in your head right now, oh, he's not talking to me. No, I can't be cut out. He's not, no. I mean, I get it and it's inspiring, but I mean, still, I have so much. Stop. Just stop. Just stop with the bullshit lies. Stop with the stories you've made up. Create something new. Take a new action. Read a new book. Lean into a new podcast. Reach out to a leader on the team. Ask for help. Where are you stuck? Where are you struggling? Where do you get to allow people to serve you? I'll ask that question one more time. Where do you get to allow people to serve you? How committed are you to creating the thing you wrote in the chat box? My old mentor Ryan used to say, when you show your commitment to your business will show you your money. And your money equals one thing and one thing only, and that's choices and options and freedom. I wish that there was a camera crew that followed Eden around every single day so you could see our every interaction, so you could see the way that we fought, so you could see the way that we challenged each other, so you could see the way that when she'd come home and I'd ask, who are your 5 people? She'd name 5 and one was a repeat. And I'd say, go back out. And she'd leave to go to the store to find a new person to talk with. Why? Unreasonable, non-negotiable. How willing are you? How willing are you? How willing are you? Nothing's stopping you. Every skill can be learned. Every mindset can be adopted. Every story can be reprogrammed. Every single one of those things can be altered like that. Just like that. You got to decide, though. You got to decide. So type in the chat box. What are you going to decide? What's your decision? Who are you going to become? What are you going to create? What are you committed to? Action. What else? Just Eric. To go for it. To be unreasonable. Consistency. Don't stop. What else? Commit to daily action. Getting uncomfortable. Let's talk about that real quick. That's not uncomfortable. See, here's the thing. That's the lie, by the way. That's the lie. It's not a comfort zone. We've heard that before. Go like this right now. You got to step out of your comfort zone. BS. That's not comfortable. How? There's no comfort in feeling a fear of rejection. There's no comfort in feeling a fear of judgment. There's no comfort in not knowing where your next bill is going to come from, get paid by, how it's going to get paid. There's no comfort in that. There's familiarity. It's easy to do. But it's not comfortable. It's the worst feeling. I know it intimately. Your decision, your life, your choice, your look back ability. It's a choice, it's a decision, but it's a decision you got to make every single day. Especially when it's hard, especially when you don't want to, and especially when you have people in your life saying, you could do it tomorrow. Just come to the beach. Look how nice the weather is. You got to say no. No, there's a webinar I got to get on. I got to learn. You got to learn to exercise your no so you can exercise the power of your yes. Be unreasonable. Be unreasonable. Hi, Wally. All right, I got to go feed my dog. I hope this was valuable for all of you. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to post in the team chat. What did you learn? Thank you all for plugging in. Thank you for investing your evening with me tonight. Sending you lots of love. Go have a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal week. Phenomenal week. Get out of your head, get into your heart. Get out of your head, get into your heart. One more time. The only people that are ever going to try and talk you out of a life of greatness are the people who've talked themselves into a life of mediocrity. Who will you choose to be? Good night.